But really what I want to do tonight is congratulate the College of Business for a very successful business week. I know this is the second business week the college has developed. I want to particularly recognize all those that were involved in the planning and logistics, particularly in this virtual world that we're living in right now. Last year we were all able to gather together, person to person, and this year it is a virtual world. So thank you all to the faculty, the staff, and the students that contributed to the planning and the production of tonight's event, as well as the rest of the events of Business Week. I was excited by reviewing the program and knowing that we had many faculty presenting their scholarship, and also having community members, advisory board members from the College of Business very actively involved. So I think that really speaks many, many words about the College of Business. I want to start tonight's segment by recognizing the students and, most importantly, our alumni. Our alumni make us so proud at Governor State University. And I'm particularly excited tonight to know that 3 individuals will be inducted into the Business Alumni Hall of Achievement. And these 3 individuals, from reading their statements of accomplishments, are highly accomplished professionals leading in various industries. So I'm excited tonight to have the 3 of you be introduced to all of us. I'm looking forward to that. And also to join the 5 inaugural inductees in the Hall of Fame from last year. So again, thank you to the College of Business. I'm very excited about this evening, and I'm going to look forward to learning more about the new alumni inductees. So thank you very much for inviting me this evening.
Thank you, Provost Keita. So now let me turn over to my colleagues, Dr. David Green and Dr. Olu Josie, who will be presenting this year's alumni inductees.
Thank you, Dean. Thank you, Provost. I have the honor to introduce the first inductee to the College of Business Alumni Hall of Achievement. The Governor State University College of Business Alumni Hall of Achievement was established in 2019. Candidates are selected through a nomination process based on a record of professional and personal achievements. Nominees were reviewed and inductees selected by a group including College of Business faculty, staff, and alumni. And candidates are selected for either early, mid-career, or lifetime achievements. So tonight we induct 3 College of Business alumni. The first we have here, Edward Hopson. Edward has nearly 2 decades of experience in various supply chain roles at Fortune 500 organizations. He started his career at UPS, where he had several leadership roles and operations at their large Chicagoland area consolidation hub. From there, he moved on to Annixter Office Depot, eventually promoted to Senior Manager of Supply Chain Operations. In 2016, Edward moved on to Amazon as an operations manager in their inbound cross-dock network. After assisting in turning around a large West Coast operation, Edward was promoted to Senior Operations Manager, leading the Joliet, Illinois IXD night shift operation. With Amazon's expansion in Illinois, Edward moved to the Amazon Robotics customer fulfillment site in Moni in March 2018. In his current role as Senior Manager of Business Intelligence and Analytics, he leads the team that is working toward moving the planning process toward full automation through machine learning. Edward also serves as chair of the newly formed advisory board for GSU's Supply Chain Innovation Center and Business Incubator. So in recognition of successful career and professional achievement and engagement in the community, college, and university, I am honored to present Edward Hopson as a 2020 inductee in Governor State University's College of Business Hall of Achievement. And with that, I will turn it over to Dr. Olu Josie for the next inductee.
Dr. Josie.
All right. I'm having technical difficulties. Dr. Green, could you continue?
Sure. Our second inductee tonight is Dr. Joy Mondisa, an assistant professor in the Industrial and Operations Engineering Department and an engineering education faculty member at the University of Michigan. She earned her PhD in engineering education and an MS degree in industrial engineering from Purdue University, an MBA degree from Governor State, and a BS degree in general engineering from the University of Illinois at Urbana-Champaign. Prior to her graduate studies, she worked in professional areas of manufacturing operations, technical sales, and publishing for 10 years. She also served as an adjunct faculty member in the engineering technology program at Triton College in River Grove, Illinois for 7 years. Dr. Mondisa is a rising mentoring scholar and a recipient of the prestigious National Science Foundation's Early Career Award. In her research, she examines mentoring underrepresented populations in STEM, mentoring experiences and intervention programs in higher education, and learning experiences in engineering education. In addition to receiving grant awards, Dr. Mondisa has served on NSF review panels and as an educational consultant. In recognition of successful career and professional achievement and engagement in the community college and university, I'm honored to present Dr. Joy Mondisa as a 2020 inductee in Governor State University's College of Business Hall of Achievement. And as you can see, we're showing images of the plaques that we don't have physically. We will be sending them physically to the inductees. Dr. Josie, would you like me to continue, or you want to?
Let me give this a try.
Give this a try, sure.
Yeah, because I don't know what's wrong with my network over here. Right, so I'm honored to present Craig Smith as an inductee for the 2020 COB Alumni Hall of Achievement. Craig Smith began his career at Prairie State College in 1997 as manager of the Community Instructional Center and then Senior Director of Workforce Training and Services before leaving PSC in 2005 to lead education and training programs for Blue Cross and Blue Shields Association. He returned to PSC in 2014 to serve as Vice President of Community and Economic Development. Currently, Mr. Smith is leading workforce development efforts with local businesses, community organizations, state-funded agencies, and higher education institutions to increase the talent pipeline of skilled workers in the manufacturing, transportation, supply chain, and IT sector. Mr. Smith serves in leadership positions in numerous organizations in the Chicago Southland area, including chairman of the board of the Chicago Southland Chamber of Commerce and the board of directors for the Homewood Area Chamber of Commerce. He also is a member of the Chicago Southland Economic Development Corporation and the Chicago Southland Convention and Visitors Bureau. I'm honored to induct Craig Smith for his personal and professional achievements.
Thank you, Dr. Green and Dr. Josie. You will hear from our three honorees in an interactive panel. But before we turn to Lauren for that discussion, I'd also like to invite Mr. Adam Shorter, one of last year's inductee, and also a member of College of Business Advisory Board to say a few words. Adam?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
First and foremost, I would like to say congratulations to all the inductees, some of which I know as in Mr. Craig Schmidt, but to others, welcome back to GSU, and thank you for all of your many contributions to GSU, what you have done with your services is exemplified throughout the Chicagoland region. And as we talk about Amazon, even more on a global level. So we thank you because of graduates like yourself is continuing to prosper, and GSU is being recognized even in the short term by our enrollments are continuing to grow. So we thank you and congratulations, and I'm happy of your inductees.
Thank you, Adam. Okay, now let me turn over to my colleague, Ms. Lauren Hilly, who's going to have an interactive conversation with three inductees this year. Lauren?
Thanks, June. So I want to lead us in a round of applause since we're not live. I just want to thank you so much, everyone, for your contributions, for coming tonight. This is really exciting. We have local stars in our midst. So I'm not going to ask you to say anything about your personal bio, and we heard that. So I just want to jump right in. For so long, GSU was a hidden gem, and we are working diligently to make sure that that reputation is long behind us. Joy, could you start us off and tell us a little bit about how you found us, what your experience was like, and if you have any classes or professors that had a profound impact?
So I found GSU actually through kind of a career fair that was sponsored by a company that I was working with in Tinley Park at the time. And I had been working there as a technical editor, and I'd been teaching, and I really wanted to go to school and continue working. And so when I spoke with someone at this kind of informal career fair, I thought GSU would be a great option. And I actually went and attended several open houses at GSU. And I decided to choose GSU because I liked the MBA curriculum, and I loved the potential it had to integrate education courses into my coursework since I was a practicing faculty member. And during my time there, I would definitely say I was heavily influenced to continue my education by Professor Dr. Anthony Andrews, my econ professor, who spent a lot of time coaching and counseling me and really convinced me to take that leap of faith to pursue my PhD. So I had a lot of good support from classes. I'm going to kill Professor Zamaski, Georgia, oh gosh, she was in education, Georgia Zamaski's class, I think that's her last name. A lot of support from her and Dr. Andrews in terms of continuing my education and also still taking what I was learning and practicing it in my current field while I was teaching.
Great, thank you. So did the university here inspire your goals or vice versa? And did they evolve? Obviously, you pursue the education career path, and from your bio, you're highly involved in some very interesting research with STEM and underrepresented populations. So could you tell us a little bit about your goals, how they evolved, and what they were inspired by?
So I would definitely say that both my time in my bachelor's and my graduate programs inspired my career in that I spent a lot of time engaging in mentoring relationships with faculty members and my peers. So as an undergrad, I had a white male mentor who really helped me kind of hone in what it was I was interested in. And at a GSU, like I mentioned, Dr. Anthony Andrews talked a lot about research and different things of that aspect. So I would say that, in all honesty, when I first left undergrad, I had no intentions of becoming a researcher. And the more that I got involved with teaching, as well as talking with faculty members, my professional goals were more supported, and they started to evolve from just pursuing a career as an engineer, which I truly love being an engineer, to transforming into an engineering educator. And now as an engineering education researcher, I would definitely say the roles of my professors in mentoring me really helped to shape and mold how I pursued and how I pursued future career goals. It still does, actually.
Great, thank you so much. I know that that's my favorite part of interacting with the College of Business is hearing about the research that the different professors are completing and the relevancy that it has on current events. So thank you so much. Craig, I'm going to go to you now. So same questions. How did you find us? You got your MBA here. Did you have a similar experience like Joy and want to be continuing to be able to work while you were taking your classes? Did we lose Craig?
Oh, hi, sorry. Hello. Well, certainly, I grew up in central Illinois on a farm, where learning how to work hard at a very early age, from feeding cows and pigs to detasseling corn and baling hay and straw. I knew that was not my path that I wanted to take. And so, I went to earn my associate's degree at Lakeland Community College. So I'm a community college fan, and I've spent 15 of my last 25 years working for a community college. Then went on and got my bachelor's degree from Eastern Illinois University. And then, so I moved up here in 1995, and as you said, I started at Prairie State College. And really what got me that job there was my restaurant experience. And as I worked there, I continued to take on additional responsibility, really around workforce training and helping businesses kind of do customized training. And as I'm working in the educational institution, I realized that if I want to continue to grow professionally, I need to continue my education. And so in my research, the value that I saw that GSU provided was most appealing to me. And during this time, I'm raising 3 little kids, so I needed something affordable and convenient at the same time. And so, I took the GMAT and I rolled in the courses, and I was doing 1 class at a time. And I think I did that for a year. And I'm like, okay, I got to speed this up a little bit. And I started taking two classes, and I think even toward the end I was taking 3 just to wrap it all up. But when I graduated in 2004, it took me about 6 months to find the job that I was looking for. And what got me that job, though, is the MBA at Governor State University. I mean, it not only helped me qualify that job, but that was the start of the spiral upward movement of my career ladder, and especially even my salary too at the same time. I came back to Prairie State in 2014, where I focused on workforce development. It also led me to be the chairman of the board for the Chicago Southland Chamber. I just feel that what I learned from GSU and what I gained from GSU just really truly helped me succeed in moving and advancing my career forward.
Thank you, Craig. And so it sounds like your goals were born from knowing that you didn't want to end up where you started. And
true.
You seem to have found your passion with workforce development. I sit on the board with you, and I know how passionate you are about promoting the Southland businesses, and you're really good at it. So am I correct in that assumption, or did your goals evolve?
Absolutely. I've lived in Chicago Southland now for over 25 years and raised my family here. And for me to be able to support GSU as a university that's in our backyard means something to me too, because it's the Chicago Southland. It's the area that I have been, lived here for most of my life, at least a little over half of my life now. And just think that GSU has just done wonderful things for the community, for the Southland, and I look forward for them to continue doing more.
Thank you. All right, we need to get that clip cut out and use it in an ad. Ed, I'm going to move on to you and ask you, how has your college experience allowed you to fulfill your mission and achieve the success you've seen today?
Yeah, so Governor State has some, even when I was going to school, finishing my undergraduate degree, that they had some advantages at the time that still hold true today. So one was the flexibility of the scheduling. as I was progressing my career in operations, it kind of required me to consistently switch teams I led, switch shifts and things of that nature. And so it got to a place where my changing work assignments would go around, at the time, the trimester schedule of Governor's State, where I would be like, okay, I can switch to overnights and take night classes starting, in the fall trimester. So it's like, I can't really, take this on early. And, I've worked for people who were able to allow me to do that. But the second real serious advantage that I've been able to take advantage of with my GSU education is you get a mix of theory very well from some of the tenured professors, but I've also been taught by industry professionals. So when I took corporate finance, for instance, I was being taught by someone who had CFO experience. And so, that kind of changes the dynamics of office hours and that kind of interaction, to where I was able to, during my education, get informal mentorship and knowledge and information from executives and people who had not only, taught this, but then were able to practically apply it in professional settings, to where I feel like my business education has always been applied. And so when it was time for me to take a pivot and do some accounting work, I was able to lean on the fact that, I learned so much from Ross Anderson. When the time came for me to move into CI, understanding that when I was taking business statistics, I was being taught by a CI professional. And so much of my education was immediately applicable in the professional workforce. And my career really did take off once I did graduate with my BBA.
That's so wonderful to hear. And it almost sounds like you had an internship while you were going through school. So that sounds like an extreme value add to me, sort of a bang for your buck you weren't counting on.
Yes.
So thank you for that. Joy, what inspired your professional career goals? I know we talked a little bit about the influence that the professors had as mentors. And could you share some strategies then that helped you achieve these career goals through this inspiration?
So I would say I was really inspired in my professional career when I attended an engineering camp in high school. I went to Oak Park River Forest High School, and my dean at the time, Dean Dan McHugh, recommended that I attend this camp at Southern Illinois. And I remember going to the camp and engaging with it was a women in engineering camp, so it was all other girls there, and doing different things like surveying and soldering. And I was really in tune with what I didn't like about engineering and what I did, and I loved the project management aspect. So after that camp, I pretty much came home and told my mom I want to be an engineer. And I've always loved problem solving and working with others. So being an industrial and systems engineering was really appealing to me. And I kind of started on that path probably around high school and continued on at the University of Illinois. And I would say some of the strategies that really helped me were that I always sought out the help of others immediately when I realized I needed help. It's something I tell my students now. Whether that's faculty members, whether that's your peers, it's very important that when you realize you're in a critical position and you need help, you reach out automatically, because there's always resources available. And I would say also, as an industrial systems engineer, I always try to understand the agendas of those that I'm working with. And I work to identify opportunities where my interest would intersect with theirs, and then determine opportunities for reciprocity, similar to what the keynote speaker was saying about mentoring, and that is an engagement on both sides. You both learn. So those are some of the strategies I've employed along my career to kind of help propel me to where I want to be.
Great, thank you. That's really great advice for some of the students who are here listening. Ed, I'm gonna go to you next. What would you do differently regarding your career path, knowing what you know today?
I would have taken a lot more mathematics courses, and here's why. I find that a good blend of a quantitative or technical acumen with a business acumen is critical right now. When you find that someone has one or the other, there's always something missing with the different teams that I get to interact with. And what I've found is when I moved into business intelligence, I had to get a crash course on understanding that a lot of the allure of machine learning is really understanding advanced statistics and econometrics, right? So it's like, if you can really understand those things, you can dig past a lot of the, nice buzzwords to really understand fundamentally how they're applied. But then you have to get back to understanding the business acumen. So I certainly would maintain the business education still is very critical in this country, but unless you can get like an engineer MBA type of combination, I would say maybe look at a minor in mathematics or something of that nature, just to kind of frame how you think as the world continues to evolve and get more technical.
So you're saying for anyone who gets a business degree, they need this minor in math?
I would say some sort of, definitely take a programming course. You can take at Governor's State, I believe it's 3310, teaches you scripting languages for Python, and you don't need anything other than a basic, like you can get through with an MIS course as a prerequisite. Understanding these things, like you don't have to become an expert, right? And that's, why Governor's State is so good. There's so many different majors and courses you can take as you craft out your degree that you can pick, maybe taking a couple of calculus courses just to kind of, when you hear the word vector, you don't, get afraid later on in life. And then, picking up some programming and things like that. But I have to tell you, I sit in meetings with people who have PhDs in applied math, and they can't understand for the life of them why like a part-time associate won't pick up additional hours and work near full time, because they're so boxed in. So I think picking up additional skills with a business education is extremely critical to future growth, and has helped me.
Thank you for that. Craig, I'm going to go to you. Ask the same question. What would you do different today?
What I would do different? So, one of the things that, working on your MBA program is that you have to put a lot of time in. It's not easy. It's not easy to get up and go to class. It's not, especially after working all day.
Mhm.
It's not easy to sit down and do homework. It's not easy, especially because that's what your weekends end up, being is studying and doing homework. I don't know that I would change much with my path. I think after I got my bachelor's degree, work experience, drove a lot of where I was going. And then just knowing that, Governor State was there for me when it was, time to continue my education. So, as Edward has said, with night classes and things like that, it was convenient. I think the toughest class I had at Governor State University was economics with Dr. Andrews. I'm not sure if he is still there, but
You're not the only one who thinks that.
There's a theme.
He was tough, but he was fair, but he required you to do the work, and I think that's what gave me the just additional motivation to do well. You want to make sure that your instructors are happy with your work, and just the same as you would with your employer. But as far as my career path and the journey of where I've gone so far today, I'm very happy with it, and I don't know that I would change much with that.
Okay, thank you. So Joy, kind of along the same lines, but more so, what did you do, Joy, or wish you had done during your bachelor and graduate programs that has set the stage for where you are today? You're obviously in education, so needing to be where you are today and research, you have a passion for asking those questions. So you're extremely qualified, but is there anything else that you could do different if you had the chance?
I liked Edward's answer about combining the MBA and the engineering degree and taking math classes. That's definitely been beneficial. But I guess when I think about what I would do differently or what would be different, it would be that I probably would change my thinking, progressing along my career pathway. I think that especially starting out when you're, 18 years old, going after your bachelor's, you really haven't been exposed to much.
Mhm.
Just being a little bit gentler with myself and being more open and a little bit more compassionate and I would encourage myself to be a little more flexible and know that, yes, I will pursue this degree, but pursue my passions and interests and look for things that align with it instead of, let's say, trying to force things to happen. So I can admit that I never in a million years intended on getting a PhD. You could ask June, you could ask Dr. Andrews. This was never my intent. And so I guess one thing I would say is never say never. Never say what you won't do, because you'll be given opportunities where you can explore pathways that you never even thought could intertwine with what it is that really interests you. And that's what happened to me. The more I fought against getting into education, the more I was drawn to it. When I attended GSU and I was in the econ class, it was very challenging and I enjoyed it. And I saw an aspect of learning that caused me to ask questions that were relevant, especially to research. And so having conversations around that and being more flexible as I was older or as I was a non-traditional student at that time was a much better experience, I think, than what I allowed myself to think or how I allowed myself to think about my career path in my bachelor's program. So I would just encourage students especially to, yes, be focused, but to be flexible and to be open to potential opportunities that present themselves and look at ways to align what it is that you're interested in with what it is that you could possibly pursue as a career.
Mhm.
That's really good advice. I always, when we were younger, our parents were like, if you find what you love, you'll never work a day in your life. And I feel like 40 years later, I'm still trying to figure out what I love. I love what I'm doing and I love helping students now, but I love being a small business advisor. But I've taken steps to just sort of take advantage of opportunities when they presented themselves. And I did not see this path when I was younger. I thought it was a straight path. I thought you go to school, you get your job, and you work it. So that's really good advice to our students. We talked a lot about mentorship, and could you, Joy, talk about how important this relationship is, and then maybe what's the difference between mentors and sponsors?
So, especially since this is my research area and the main driver of why I went back to get a PhD, when I talk about mentoring, I like to talk about it as being a process where you have a person who's responsible for guiding and supporting a mentee and also is learning and benefiting from the relationship, this idea of a reciprocal learning partnership. So they're getting something out of it too. And the other thing I like to stress, which is also something that the keynote speaker mentioned, is the idea that you should have various mentors. You should have what I like to call a constellation of mentors who have various skills and assets. So really people who could support you in various areas and people who you could bring something to the mentoring relationship as well. And I always try to encourage students to identify mentors by either like looking for someone who has achieved something that they desire to achieve, or someone who embodies the values or goals that they want to work towards. So in essence, do you identify a role model who has some kind of skills or assets that would be a good mentoring relationship to engage in with? And then I also would say that students need to be proactive and contact potential mentors. And it doesn't necessarily just have to be faculty. It could be staffers, it could be your peers, and really understanding if I engage with this person, if I ask them to be my mentor and to enter this relationship with them, what value would I receive as a mentee from the mentoring relationship, and what value would I bring as a mentee to the mentoring relationship? So I always talk also with my students as well as people who do research in this area about the differences between roles like advisors and coaches and mentors and sponsors. And I think the main difference between mentors and sponsors are that sponsors are people who support a student by generally using their capital to advocate for a student, especially in the student's absence. So I always like to say a sponsor is sometimes the people who are in the room where it happens, when the student isn't in the room, and they leverage their own capital to really support and advocate for the mentee and to propel them forward. So the moral, I guess, is students in particular, but all people, really you should have a constellation or a network of mentors as well as sponsors, because they all play a different role in helping you to advance, especially along your career pathway.
Thank you. So Edward, you had mentioned that a number of the faculty were your mentors while you were here. How did those relationships grow and how did they come to be? Did they come about organically? Did you just walk up to them and ask them to be your mentor? Could you tell us a little bit about that pathway?
Yeah, absolutely. They typically grow out of a genuine expressed interest. So I take Dr. Andrews as a great example. He gives a lot of work, and we all know this. But if you're the type of student to do the work, or if you don't understand to just reach out and ask him questions, he's a fountain of information, right? Like it is like how you look at, like I've had conversations with him around a greater understanding of econometrics versus me thinking that, I need to become an expert coder in order for me to have a deep understanding of machine learning. So what I would recommend is when you have exposure to the quality of faculty that you do at Governor State, find out about their background. If it aligns with, if any piece of their work, their history, whether it be a research area, whether it be work experience, whether it be courses that they've taught, align with anything that you're interested in or something that you really feel you can grow from, understand you get to go right up to a SME and get tutelage. And so for me, it's always been an intellectual curiosity and genuinely learning from people whom I quickly accept are brighter than I am and understanding the growth that I'm gonna get from those conversations and experiences. And that just ultimately builds you up because, again, you get so much empirical and theoretical knowledge from your professors that when you find yourself in the workplace, it's just game changing. The way you'll think about things, the way you'll be able to piece them together, because interactions with a professor are going to completely change how you look at a problem from an intellectual depth. And then you'll be able to recall some of the words that you've heard or some of the things they told you to read and things like that in key situations that'll kind of show that you can kind of raise the bar with the knowledge that you have.
Thanks, Edward. I would have never thought about that when I was in undergrad. I just remember seeing my professors kind of in that context within class. So that's really great advice. Craig, do you have anything to contribute? How did you get to your mentors? Where have you seen them? What have they contributed to your career success?
Most of my mentors really come from being my supervisor, my boss within the organizations that I've worked. I've had bosses and leaders that bring out the best in you. That they let you lead your team as you see fit. Mentors, your bosses, they're guides for you to make sure that you're going in the right direction, that you're following the strategic initiatives, that you're leading with authority, but with also passion and empathy. I've had a lot of great leaders over the years that have recognized my accomplishments and have allowed me to expand on and actually push you a little bit. We go back to Dr. Andrews. He pushes you to excel, and I think a good leader also pushes you a little bit out of your comfort zone, and and promotes that you can do anything you can do, that if you put your mind to it. And as a leader too, you have to have the right people around you to be a good leader and a mentor. You have to have people who want to learn. You have to have people who want to be engaged, who want to be active participants of the goal of what you're working on. And that's something I I took away from Governor State is, we did a lot of project work in groups of 3 and 4 teams. And, you have individuals who want to step up. You have individuals who, don't. And then you have people who want to take a leading role. And that's something I did in much of the group work at Governor State. And I think that led to, in my career as well. It's like, we have a project here we want to work on. We need everybody engaged. We need active participants. We need someone to lead us. And, so that's just one thing I always made sure that is when you're at the table, let's be an active participant, because I think people will recognize that. And then they see the leadership potential in you. And that's what led to much of the, the promotions and forth. And so I just think if you listen, you provide your input, your thoughts and your ideas, you never know where it can take you in terms of opportunities for leadership and growth.
Thank you. I'd like to tell all of the attendees, if you have a question, you can type it into the question and answer box or raise your hand and you can speak and we'll give you the opportunity to speak. June, do you want to ask the question that?
Yes, Dr. Terry Winfrey has a question in the Q&A. We're all promoters for the Chicago Southland, and since we have Craig Schmidt, the chairman of the board of Southland Chamber, and we have Edward Hopson from Amazon, is there some synergy that can happen between those 2 organizations to help the region? I know you have great answers to that, but I know the answer is yes. We're working on that. But I'll let you two, and maybe Adam, who's the trustee of Village of Madison, can also maybe chime in on respond to that question. Great question, Dr. Winfrey. Who wanted to take?
Well, I know I can speak from the chamber's perspective. We are the Chicago Southland Chamber is a 300-member organization serving 5 counties in the Chicago Southland region, and we continue to promote workforce development, continue to promote the Southland. We know Amazon is building 2 more large the latest technology advance, with the latest technology advanced equipment within the buildings. How do we as a region support Amazon in terms of training, in terms of employees, and ensuring that many of these jobs, they go to the Chicago Southland residents, where the jobs are very much needed, and there's a large workforce base here. So I'd love to have conversations about how we as the chamber and the higher educational institutions can support Amazon.
And from the Village of Madison standpoint, we were definitely grateful for the opportunity to land the Amazon. And what we want to do is partner with as many partners in the Southland, whether it's GSU, Governor State, working with Craig and his group, and so many others. We think this is a good opportunity. And though the Amazon is in Madison, what we are always stressing is this is a regional job center. There's more than enough jobs to go around. So even in trying to partner with Reggie Greenwood, the various chambers of commerce, whether it's the big chambers or the regional chambers or the smaller chambers, simple as Chamber 57, we know the importance of collaborating and also maximizing to look for the next big company to come into the Southland to do what Amazon has done to keep this momentum going. And as we start to build the momentum, we can continue thinking, where can we go from the airport and other logistics and things that we have. So we know that this is just a beginning. And I think with GSU as being a true pillar of all of this, from the various segments of what you could bring to the table. Whereas us municipalities, we always looking for economic development from a municipality standpoint, but I think that the higher education is going to be so critical because you can tell our story, you can continue documenting where we went and how we got there. So we just look forward to continuing all of the partnerships. And for the Village of Madison, I serve as the chair of economic development. We have a lot of great things going on, and we have done many of them throughout the COVID-19. And again, everything that we do, we're thinking regional. How can we partner with our sister communities, whether it's Richmond Park, Olympia Fields, Park Forest, you name it, because we know when big businesses come and look at the village of Madison, they're looking at the region. And so as long as we can make sure that everything is from the region, we know that it'll benefit all. So that is our standpoint. A lot of the economic development directors in the various municipalities and villages meet regularly together to try to make sure that we continue to move forward in one step.
Yes. Ed, do we want to say a few words on that?
Yeah, absolutely. And so the way Amazon builds nodes, the large fulfillment centers will continue to breed an environment where you also get delivery stations. Amazon has grown tremendously, but how can that benefit GSU? And it's very simple. I am not an anomaly. I am merely one of the many successful products that have come through the Governor State University College of Business. Amazon has a serious shortage on managers and leadership talent. I am a bar raiser who does a lot of interviews, and I can tell you, it is not anything that I've seen, no matter what school they've went through. GSU does have the talent to be in those rooms. So I think a lot of the work has been done to have Amazon at the career fairs. I would encourage students, especially if you're majoring in supply chain management. I think Governor State has for years been ahead of the curve. And if I hadn't already had so many accounting and finance classes, I would have been smart enough to study supply chain management at Governor State, because the school's been ahead of that curve for years. If you're in that, don't even wait until you graduate. Like, look at, applying for the internships that are there. You can connect with me through LinkedIn or something else, and I can kind of help you get down that path. But I think one of the key strategic initiatives needs to be Governor State being a talent pipeline for these facilities that are all being built within 20 minutes of the university.
Yeah, so you can come back, Edward. We have an online program for you.
Actually, Amazon was here this afternoon. Their Midwest region college recruiters were here to speak to our students. So, and I also just want to add that the Supply Chain Innovation Center and Business Incubator at Governor State is working closely with Amazon, and they do virtual info sessions for the municipalities. So it like Adam was saying, it's a regional effort. We needed to help them successful, and that will bring more businesses. So our alumni who are really successful and representing us in all those areas, you're our best advocate for our current and future students. I also, Laura, I know you might have a few questions, but I think this question is great from Professor Alice Kling. Basically asking you how do you develop networks with your fellow classmates while you are in school? How did those networks help you in your future, professional development? As adult students, do you really, how do you foster that type of relationship with your fellow classmates?
I'll quickly on that. I remember being in the capstone business class taught by Dr. Zhao. And I actually have developed some very great relationships with a couple of my colleagues, and we formed a team there. What I remember most is it was easiest to work with them because everyone had prioritized school, but they also had some other aspect of their life that informed that, whether it was work or a certain certificate or degree they were working towards. And so during my time at GSU, I had a great network of people because of the classes that I was in. So I got a chance in that capstone class to work with like DeAndre and a couple other people. I stayed in contact with them for quite a bit until I moved out of state.
Great.
But I think definitely in the graduate program at GSU, having people who were on a similar kind of career path and a work path similar to mine allowed me to work with them and to kind of maintain some relationships in school and out of school in a very appropriate, convenient, kind of timely manner. So they could respect my time because they were involved in the same kinds of activities that I was.
Great. I do remember having you in my capstone class. Edward and Craig, you want to chime in? And then we'll have one more question.
You know, I mean, going back to a lot of the project work that we did in the classes, you know, that, and as Joy was saying, you know, they have, the students that I was with, you know, were either married, had kids, had jobs, and, you know, the same challenges that I had. And so, you know, that really created a lot of camaraderie. And, you know, really what I'm finding more interesting now, though, is how I've reconnected with many of them since then. You know, Dr. Judy Mitchell at Joliet Junior College, you know, we were in the MBA program together, you know, and now she's the president of Joliet. And then there's a few others that is like, oh, hey, we were in classes together, you know, so it's, and then you're kind of trying to remember too, because it was quite a while ago, but, you know, so it's just interesting how you kind of things come back full circle with people that you met, and then now you're working with them in the working world.
Great.
Yeah, very similar experience. I know for me, I was a non-traditional student. You know, my career kind of hit a certain point when it was really time to bear down and, you know, graduate with my BBA. But I found that the students would work harder because they had, like, most of them had a full life outside of the classroom. And so the group projects and then our ability to share stories on how the curriculum, because many people, you know, may have already had a certain level of career success before we're sitting in classrooms to get formally trained in things that maybe we had learned in the workforce. But the ability to have high level conversations with everyone about how the content was applicable, for me, always just enhanced the learning. And I think, you know, when I first started my academic career, you know, I'm 18 years old, I'm on the campus of UIC, and my understanding of intermediate accounting 1 versus when I took intermediate accounting 2 and 3 at Governor State as a non-traditional student, completely different. I mean, my classmates, their level of engagement, their level of understanding was just completely different. And so I think even now with an environment where, yes, you do bring in freshmen, sophomores, things like that, the opportunity still exists for a non-traditional student to offer that mentorship and that real, hey, here's why this course is important to your career, as opposed to just a grade and things like that. So even as the student population has changed, Governor State has not lost that cachet.
Right. Yeah, that's that mix of diverse student population. That's a great strength of our university and our college. So we have a few minutes left. Maybe Lauren, you have your final question for the group?
So that's one of the things across the board that I hear when I'm speaking with alumni. Number one, the professors and the practical, applicable experience they bring to the classroom, and then the group work. So that exposure across life experience and career experience, I think, is tremendously helpful. So kudos to you guys. So I'm just gonna, to everyone, to Craig, Edward, and Joy, what's the next big thing in technology for your respective fields? I mean, I don't know, Ed, if you can share with us, you know, at Amazon pulls it a little close to the vest, but.
Two things that, well, I'll tell you, first, I'll just briefly, the 2 things that I was able to beta test that are now out, the Amazon Explore, which is the virtual tours around the world, which will give every customer the opportunity to also engage in foreign markets, because your tour guide and some of these will act as your personal shopper across the globe as well. The other was the fitness devices that they rolled out. That industry is ripe for disruption. I know Peloton does extremely well. The subscription service model is how pretty much all those things will be beneficial. However, you know, Amazon's such a large platform. Next thing you know, you're going to be working out. They're going to take your BMI measures. They're going to offer you new workout clothes as you slim down and things like that. And there's just so much integration across the platform that I think Amazon will disrupt the fitness market as well as Apple will also.
Right. Joy?
Well, I would say, I'm working with a number of manufacturing companies in the Southland, and, everything is moving toward robotics, and I know that's what Amazon is too. And, so it goes back to how do we, these robots are going to need to be fixed eventually. They're going to break down. They're going to need maintained. How do we, train individuals to do that? We don't want to have to send those out to another state or another location. We want it done right here. So how are we going to meet that demand? I think that's, one of the things that is just going to be crucial as we move forward into, moving forward. So.
Great, thanks. We'll wrap it up with you, Joy.
So as a researcher, we're not quite as, I would say, high-tech innovative as my colleagues are. But I do know here in Michigan, we are looking at some of the things that the keynote speaker also mentioned, like additive manufacturing, rapid 3D prototyping is being used in quite a bit of research. There's a lot of discussion around AI. I had one of my students look at ways that artificial intelligence is influencing higher education and what's the future of that look like. Also, we've looked at, in mentoring, we're looking at a project which uses chatbots and avatars to actually educate people using information from subject matter experts that were provided electronically upon asking. So kind of, I guess, an Alexa for mentoring, some of the things we have on the horizon.
Right. Well, that's really neat. Thank you, all three of you. Congratulations, Joy, Ed, and Craig. It was truly my honor to be able to facilitate this discussion. I really enjoyed it. I learned a lot. And I hope that all of our attendees did as well. I'll toss it back to you, June, to wrap us up.
Thank you, everyone. That was really wonderful. I think your personal experiences, your personal stories, and your journey, I think it's inspirational to our students and to our faculty who are here. It's really uplifting, rewarding to hear, those wonderful stories. So thank you very much. I just want to wrap up by showing a quick 1-minute video, which was actually from last year's Business Week event, because this year we could not gather in person, but next year we hope to see you in person. So I'm just gonna show this. Hopefully you can see it from my screen. You probably cannot hear it, but you should be able to see it. Oh, do you see it?
Yes.
So there was a wonderful video from last year. And again, thank you very much for being here. We really are proud of our alumni.
Congrats again.
Thank you.
And there's 3 comments. Terry Winfrey says, I want to applaud this year's inductees. Also Adam Shorter, who was inducted last year. Great accomplishment, and thanks to the planning committee. Lewis Collins Jr. says, excellent. And Professor Fraud says, great presentations. Thank you all.
Thank you. And I want to also thank the planning committee. You have a few of them here. Dr. David Green, Dr. Louis Josie, Lauren, and who are not here, Karen Jenko and Karen Blackman, and also our career service colleagues, especially Darcy Campus, that really worked really hard, and a couple of faculty committee members, Dr. Chelsea Vanderpool and Mr. Michael Trindell, and Adam also was part of our planning team, helping us selecting the outstanding alumni inductees this year. So thank you very much. Have a good evening.